Happy Sunday. This is the weekend edition of In the Company of Cards. I'm Erica Robinson, author of The Language of Lenormand, as well as the deck, Erica's Lenormand of Hope. Um, Delighted to have you all with me. Delighted too that my numbers of subscribers has kind of exponentially exploded, let me say. Thank you all. Welcome to everyone who's new here. I hope you get something out of the experience. And to those of you who've been here since the beginning, mind you, the beginning was 2 months ago. Um, Thank you so much, and I really appreciate all the support. And we'll try to live up to your confidence in me and my work. So, as you may or may not know, what I do is I use Lenormand, which is a 36 card divination instrument, to comment on and make predictions on and to sort of discuss um, events, both domestically here in the States as well as abroad. And I, as always, welcome you to leave your questions in the comments that you'd like me to look at. If I think my cards can provide any insight, I'm happy to use them to that end. So thrilled that you're here. Okay, so for today, I have 4 questions. Um, they are all of them viewer questions. So let's get right into it. The first question has to do with Sudan, country, of course, in Africa, the north. And the famine there is just over the top horrible. And so, at least over here in the States, we don't pay very much attention to any African country. Um, China does, because of course, and we'll get to China later, but China has a declining population, which means they have a declining labor force. And so they have, as so many continents have in the past, United States, looking at you, Europe, looking at you. They look to Africa to provide their labor, but we'll get to that another time. Uh, the point is that we don't tend to focus on Africa the way we focus on other parts of the world, and Sudan is really in dire straits because of famine. So the question that I was asked was whether I see the world's attention turning towards Sudan, given that the numbers are astronomical in terms of starvation, human beings starving to death. So the question was, what's going to happen there? I guess is the best way to put it. I don't want to put it as a yes, no. And even though for some of the questions today, I will have spirit identify the significator, I want to make sure that we're very clear on what we're talking about here. We're talking about starvation in Sudan. And the card for that would be the mice. Mice is starvation, disease, um, and all of the attendant anxieties and horrors that can prompt. So we're going to look for the mice in the deck, and it will stand for famine in Sudan. And we'll look to see whether there's any respite or hope coming to them from other parts of the country. Okay, so I'm going to put the screen down and cut the deck into 3. While I'm doing that, please, if you've not already done so, subscribe, like, and share. That would mean a lot to me. I'm so excited to be seeing this channel growing in the way that it has. Really appreciate it. Okay, here we go. So I'm just flipping cards over. until I get to the mice, which will stand for famine in Sudan. Deep in the deck, which doesn't really mean anything one way or the other, just that I have to flip over a lot of cards. Okay, there we go. So there's our mice. And I'm putting the two cards that come to the left of it there, and then I have cards in my hand still, and putting these to the right. So our line of five is the fox, the anchor, the mice, the ship, and the tree. Okay. So what I'm going to do is move these cards up so I have room on my table. And I'm going to pull clarifiers. And you know, and of course, a lot of what goes on in Sudan has to do with, you know, infighting, territoriality, territorial type um, disputes. Um, all right, so what I did was I actually pulled my full 23 card spread. I'm known for this spread around the world because it's really a good spread, I have to say. It's a spread that uses 23 cards to do a deep dive on a single issue. So again, our original cards, I'm just gonna, are the fox, the anchor, the mice that stand for famine, and then we have the ship and we have the tree. Okay, and then I pulled clarifiers, as I said, on all of those cards. So let's see. You know, um, Fox. In recent readings, I have pulled the fox and said, oh, yeah, I'm not a fan of the fox in this particular reading. But in this particular reading, I kind of am a fan. Expertise is needed in how to address this famine. It can't be kind of piecemeal um, responded to. And this is the card for the expert, the professional. Um, you know, World health professionals are going to be needed to do anything about this. Now, we have the anchor, and when I put it together with the anchor, this changes meaning. Remember, before I even pulled cards, I said there's a lot of sort of warlord internal fighting going on there. That's these people too. Everybody wanting their own piece of the pie. Everybody wanting to be the head person in charge. And this is sort of an intractable fact of life in that part of the world, which means that people are used as a pawn, food is used as a pawn, and this is hunger, famine used as a pawn. Now, I will say that the last two cards in the line I kind of like, because we have the tree. I mean, I'm sorry, the ship, and we have the tree. The ship feels to me as though it's moving away from famine. Well, the only way you move away from famine is if you feed people. So this speaks about that, about progress being made, I feel like. And this is the card for health in all forms. I can mirror the first card. Here's the fox. Remember, these are experts with the tree. So experts will be needed. But let me say too about the tree, it's a slow card. I hope not too slow because, you know, people can only last so long when they don't have food. Uh, Now, I can also mirror the anchor with this ship. Of course, these are both nautical cards, right? But an anchor, this is sort of a stuck energy. And I like the fact that it comes in this order instead of the other way around, because this way it makes me think that the anchor gets raised so that the ship of progress and feeding people can move forward. But really, attention needs to be paid to this issue, and it's unconscionable that it's not. Okay, so I pulled clarifying cards on all five of those cards. So here's our fox. That's our first line, first card in the line of five. The clarifiers are the older woman, the moon, and the younger woman. I do think that when Harris becomes president, part of what she will want to do is to be known for helping people who are overlooked. Um, she's Black, people of Sudan are Black. A lot of reason why the Sudan's not paid attention to is because it's a Black country, I'm just saying. But I think she will do something to change that. This is young yin energy, and I think she will at least turn an eye towards that part of the world that so many here ignore. So I think that's good. I think Sudan is already on her radar, as a matter of fact. Okay, then we have the anchor. And the cards that I drew for that are the sun, the fish, and the whip. I like this. The anchor is that sort of stuck energy where you have, for example, food stuck in ports and not being able to move into the country because of bureaucracy or warlords or, uh, you know, intra-group fighting. But the next card was the sun. And the sun, they say, is the best card in the deck, so I like that. Um, there is food available in the world. That's what the fish card stands for. But it's about being disciplined in the approach to how to get this food to people. Now, in the center, we have the card that I have charged with the energy of the famine, and we have the mountain, the coffin, and the heart. The famine has sort of uh, taken hold and has kept the country and the people stuck. There will be, as there have already been, many, many more deaths. And those deaths are the thing, isn't this always the way, that will move people's hearts and turn their attention towards this part of the world. So I think that there will be more suffering before it gets better. That people will, it won't be till those huge numbers are communicated of deaths that people will say, oh, wait a minute, these are human beings, and what can we do to help? So now moving forward, what's going to happen as a result? I mean, and remember that line was a center line. So essentially that's what's going on right now, is that people are starving in enormous numbers. So what's coming in after that? Well, we have the ship, we have the bear, we have the dog, and we have the cross. Okay, ship, this is forward movement, which I like. Forward movement by world powers, because that's what this bear is, world powers, who will want to be a friend to the suffering, and even in a sacrificial way, meaning doing whatever we need to do to stop the suffering. So this is world powers becoming a friend to the people of Sudan, if not the government, the people of Sudan. And that things move forward because of the suffering. This is a card of suffering and sacrifice. So things will move forward in terms of aid coming in. Um, then we have the tree and the clarifiers for that, or the crossroads, clover, and the older man. For once, this is not 45. The tree, this is the health of the country, the health of the citizens of Sudan. Um, and that it's gonna have to be a multi-pronged approach. See, there's this road, there's that road, there's all kinds of other roads back there. This will take a multidisciplinary, multi-pronged approach, and it has to happen really fast to the point where I feel like this is Biden. Um, because people they can't hit pause on their starvation. So I think Biden will want to, as one of his last acts, do something helpful to the people of Sudan. And then I pulled three extra cards, and those cards in this spread serve as kind of a postscript. Like, is there anything else that I can tell you about this? So we have the house, we have the bouquet, and we have the book. I feel like this is the White House, so I think the help will come from there, among other sources. I think this is where Biden lives now. It's where Harris will live, and that there will be a gifting to the people so that they don't starve. But the form that that takes, how soon that happens, remains to be seen. Because frustratingly, the book is about things we don't know. Time truly is of the essence here. So if nothing else, send a donation to Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders, or UNICEF, or wherever you feel called, because Sudan is really suffering. The people there are in dire need. I think help will come, but I think help will not come in time for every starving person there. And that's a shame, and it's our shame to bear. It's the world's shame to bear. So if you have a few dollars to spare, send it to the organization of your choice, in the name of the Sudan. Okay, well, that was sobering. Um, the world can seem like quite the transactional place, right? In other words, yeah, I'll help you, as long as I know that you can do something for me. That's not nice. Maybe we can, on this Sunday, that's something to think about. Do we need to be so transactional in the way that we interact with other people in other nations? I don't know. All right. Another question, and this is another faraway inquiry, has to do with the Philippines and China. So, bottom line, China has as one of its big goals the intention of controlling the South China Sea. And that means keeping anybody else out. The Philippines are there, and so China has been kind of aggressive in trying to move the Philippine ships out of the South China Sea. But China has said that this sea is sovereign to us, meaning we own it. The thing is, if they don't let Philippines have access to the South China Seas, um, the Philippines can't trade. And if you can't trade, what are you supposed to do? So the question was, what's the situation there? And I think that I want to use I'm trying, well, you know what? We'll let Spirit, because it's Sunday, we'll let Spirit pick our central card for this. So what will happen with China's insistence on owning the South China Sea, and how will that affect the Philippines? Will this thing escalate? Will it de-escalate? What's the trajectory in this moment of that issue? Okay, so we'll let Spirit decide what the center card is. All right. So, but I will cut into three. I always do. Okay. So, again, whatever Spirit wants the central card to be, that will be the focus. Okay. Well, sadly, we have fish, we have heart, we have ring, we have ship, and we have whip. I don't need to pull clarifiers, I don't think, on this. So again, ship, heart, um, ring, I'm sorry, fish, heart, ring, ship, and whip. Okay, so, both the long and the short answer is this. You know, Theoretically, there's enough C for everybody. This is the C, but I can mirror this C card with the last card. This is our first card, fish, with the last card, and this is whip. This is this argument over who owns the South China Seas. Who owns them? This looks like it will continue. This will be perennial, perpetual. This problem is not going to go away. Because, you know, everybody wants ownership. And God knows China wants supremacy over the seas. And so they will go forward however they have to do it. Now, they're doing things now like they'll ram Philippine boats, or they will the big thing that they do is water cannons. Now that might sound like, water pistols. What's the big deal? A water cannon, but it's a water cannon. You know what I'm saying? So it has injured, I think even killed, certainly injured Philippine sailors and damaged their ships. Um, the fact that this is the center card does not fill me with any good feeling, because this, as I said, it's perennial, it's perpetual. Um, this is that human urge for primacy, you know. Um, China will do whatever they need to do to own the seas around China. The ring is the card. They're committed. It's a card for being committed. They are committed to this. And they, um, I would even say that, let me draw. Yeah. I think that they think, so this is them saying, we're gonna own the seas, and the only boats you're gonna see on there are ours. And we are gonna make that crystal clear. Here I don't love the sun because this is China. You all don't seem to understand Philippines, but we're gonna make sure that you see, because we are going to overpower you. And by the way, they're overpowering the Philippines ultimately will work. It's the answer. It's the key. They will escalate their tactics and go from water guns to God even doesn't even, I don't even want to speculate. It's a losing battle, I think, for the Philippines. But then again, that's what we said about Ukraine and Russia, and look how that's turning out. But I think China will do whatever it can to maintain primacy on the sea. Okay. Oh, for a Sunday, these are heavy lift questions, right? Okay. Another question. This is from also a viewer in Canada. I love Canada. I love Canadians. Doing an event in Kingston, Ontario, uh, first week in November. Um, so if you're local and want to attend, I will be teaching Lenormand there. But anyway, this question was about politics, Canadian politics. So, as you may or may not know, the Prime Minister, who is Justin Trudeau, I almost said Pierre Trudeau, but that was his father. And I remember back in the day. But anyway, this is Justin Trudeau, who was so loved and lionized in the beginning of his prime ministership uh, and is now under siege. He heads the Liberal Party. And the Conservative Party, Canada, just being to the north of us, of course, is susceptible to um, whatever has affected or infected the body politic in the States, meaning that Trumpism, it has been sort of worming its way north, sad to say. And so the Conservative Party is really has laid siege to Trudeau. And the question was, um, will his party, the Liberal Party, will they be forced to call a snap election prior to 2025? So I'm gathering, I don't know this, but I'm assuming that the election was due to happen in 2025, but could a snap election be called? So, um, you know what? That is kind of a yes no question, right? So let's do a yes no spread. Okay. Will Canada have a snap election uh, prior to 2025? Which, by the way, 2025 is right around the corner. But let's see. Prior to 2025. All right, and I'm going to use the card that I've been using all along for the states and elections, which is the letter, and it stands for the vote. So will there be a vote um, uh, for, you know, which party is in control of Canada prior to 2025? Okay, so let's see. We're looking for the letter. Oh, and it's the first card. And you've seen this happen before. When it's the first card, I'm looking for, I'm not going to do a yes no spread. I'm going to do a line of five. So when it's the first card, it means it won't be in the middle. It's the first card. So I have to pull after that. So this is the first card. And then, okay. So we have the letter, the mice, the lily, the star, and the birds. Okay, interesting. So again, the letter, this is the very first card, and this comes up, this means election, Canadian election for primacy, whichever party is going to be in charge um, prior to 2025. I think people are really nervous about that. The world is a wild place, and prior to 2025, it's just going to get wilder. But the third card, the card in the center, since it wasn't the election, is the lily. So we'll get to that in a minute. And then we have the star, and then we have birds. Okay, so let's see. Um, again, this is the election. People are stressed out about this. But the lily is in the center. The lily, in some ways, is the opposite of the mice. If this is anxiety and stress and worry, this is calm and peace and maturity and cool heads. Love that in the center. Uh, this star is about the future because, speaking on a sort of a global level, a lot does hinge on the US uh, because of that infection factor. If this won't happen, but we're 45 to win, well, you know, so much for the Labour Party winning in Canada. Those days would be over. But Harris is going to win. So that will set the future on a different path, both for the US, but also for Canada. So this is the future. And then we have birds. Birds is about meetings, conversations. I think there will be a lot of talk, continued talk about, should we hold an election now? Should we wait? What should we do? But I do think that cool heads will prevail, and there will be a wait to see what happens in the South, which is to say, down here in the States. And I'm not trying to be one of those ugly Americans who thinks that, America is the center of the universe. But I do think that things trickle up and things trickle down, and the way our election goes will say a lot about where Canada goes. But I think this is a lovely, lovely part. Now, I don't want to be Pollyanna, so I'm going to pull a significator or two on that lily to see what that's about. Okay. Okay, so again, cards that I pulled on the lily. We have the ship and we have the child. So I like that. The ship is sort of moving forward to this sort of peaceful place. And this is something new, which means not something old and has been and 45-ish. I'm just saying. Uh, now there was a fourth one. I mean, a fourth card, but I pulled a third clarifier. It's the bear. Sometimes I love the bear, sometimes I don't love the bear, but I can mirror the bear together with the lily, and I like this. I think that cooler heads will prevail and that the election will come when it's supposed to come, as opposed to being a snap election prior to the new year. Okay. And then one more question, also from a viewer, and quite timely, as are all these four questions that I've looked at, or the other three that I've looked at. But this is a timely one, and it's related to our recent weather event in the States here, which is Hurricane Helene. Now, let me just say, I hear the term hurricane and I'm like, ooh, I already feel PTSD, knocking on my door because I lived through Hurricane Sandy, and I lived in an area that was very hard hit. And, it blew a hole in my roof, but, it was actually okay because I needed a new roof anyway and got it paid for by insurance. So that was good. But it was really scary. And we were out of commission and we were incommunicada. I'm saying I live by myself. So I was incommunicada for a good couple of weeks. But the question that I was asked about Hurricane Helene, which hit South Carolina very, very hard, hit Florida and other parts of the South, was how would this hurricane affect the election? I mean, in very pragmatic terms, like, the viewer said, if your polling place is washed away, where exactly are you supposed to vote? Like, will people still be able to cast ballots in a few weeks? Given that they will not be up to speed. I mean, a lot of people are just there's no communication with them because the cell towers are out. Um, people don't have water and food. And I mean, like I said, I remember this very well. So, um, what will be the consequences of this storm in relation to the election? So I'm just sitting here like trying to think, what cards would I use? Or would do I want to even use a significator? But you know what? It's Sunday. Let's let spirit do it. Okay, so what effect will Hurricane Helene have on the November 5th election and people's ability to cast ballots, etc.? Okay. And then there's another context that I'd like to look at the same question in, but we'll do that in a minute. All right, so I'm going to let Spirit tell me what the significator is. So, okay, here we go. This next card is the significator. Okay, so we have the young woman, the mountain, the whip, clover, and the bear. Okay, so the young woman, the mountain, the whip, the clover, and the bear. Okay, I am going to pull significators, but first let's talk about these 5 cards. The young woman is yin energy, and there is right now, there is a need. There are people who've lost everything, as one does, as one can do in a hurricane situation. This leaves people in a vulnerable position, in a position of needing to receive, right? Probably the last thing anybody's thinking about is how am I going to get to the polls? And that's why the second card is the mountain. There are impediments to voting, because that's what we're talking about is voting, right? Um, Now, the center card is the whip. I actually do not mind it here. We are still several weeks out from the election, and this is the card for discipline. So there will be a need to be a very focused and disciplined effort on the part of, I'm going to say, the government and social service organizations and voter organizations to be super disciplined about getting these people the help that they need. A roof over their head, food in their mouths, um, and just some hope for their future. So the response will be focused and disciplined. And I think that that's great. And I think that will have all kinds of positive ramifications for the election process because the following card is clover. Now, clover is lucky. That's great. And it's good. So that's great. It's also quick. So I think there will be a quick response. I can mirror certain cards. I can mirror the second card, mountain, which is the impediments to, food, water, communication access that we see now in the day after the storm, but they will be swiftly dealt with because there won't be people throwing paper towels to people who've lost everything. I'm just saying. And this, again, this is the yin. So think about this as being, for example, South Carolina and Florida, right? Right now, they are in need mode. They are in receiving mode because they lost everything. So that's this yin energy. And it's mirrored by the bear. Now, one of the meanings that we've not seen I don't think in any of my videos to date, but this is a very important meaning for the bear, is it's the mother card. It's also, I mean, can you imagine, would you get in between a mother bear and her cub? I mean, you wouldn't if you want to keep your head because bears can be fierce. And I think this is the governmental response to this yin neediness that has fallen upon North Carolina and Florida. And I don't know, maybe South Carolina as well. I'm not sure exactly the places in the South that it hit, but I know it hit the Carolinas and Georgia. So the response will feel maternal, and the response will feel powerful. And we know that the response will be swift. Now, I'm just going to say this. I thought I was going to have to draw more cards about a certain thing, but instead I'm not. I'm just going to say what I think, um, which is that, again, nobody will be throwing paper towels at anybody. Um, and no one who is responding to this crisis, meaning Biden, meaning Harris and company, are of the climate denier camp. The other side can't say that, which is to say that not only will people be helped in a really focused, disciplined, quick, and maternal even way through this disaster, but people will say, um, wait, who helped us during this time of need? Was it the guy on the golf course? Or was it um, Biden Harris? And I think that some scales will fall from some people's eyes, courtesy of a natural disaster. And um, I don't think that people need to worry about how will people get to the polling place. That will be figured out. There are people figuring all of that out, in addition to figuring out, again, how to meet all of the needs that these people will have. Um, but I think that this will actually not only will people be able to vote, I think there will be people who were either disinclined to vote Democratic or were on the fence, but they will say, wait, who helped us? And I think this disaster could accrue to the benefit of Harris. And it feels like a weird thing to say that a disaster will accrue to the benefit of somebody, but I do think that will happen. Our prayers, our funds should go towards what's going on there as a result of that. Also to Sudan. Um, we can send our well wishes to the Philippines, of course, but they're fighting a behemoth. China is desperate. But again, because their population is decreasing and they face all kinds of embargoes and stuff, and they want to rule the South China Seas. So the Philippines, I think, will be um, fighting a lost cause. Canada, pretty sure there will be no snap election. I will eat my hat if I am wrong, as I've said before. Anyway, just to end, thank you for liking and subscribing to my channel. I've kind of been overwhelmed. This channel is only 2 months old. I had a big birthday and I thought, okay, well, uh, on the 29th of July, and I said, okay, I'm just gonna leap into this YouTube thing. It was kind of a spur of the moment decision, but my goal is, my cards give me information that I get from the universe. I am a human being and I have opinions. And where I feel like I want to insert my opinion, I will, but I will never read the cards in a biased way. If the cards show me something I don't want to see or I don't want to hear, I'm still going to show you what it is that I see and I hear, because that's my obligation. But as a human being, um, you know, I have a political slant. And I hope that if that you stay, if that feels good to you, and there are many other places you can go. If it doesn't feel good, there are plenty of places on YouTube that will give you what you want. I'm giving you what I see, and I'm trying to show you um, what a powerful tool something like divination with cards can be in helping us sort of chart the courses of our lives. So anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support, and I'll see you next time. Happy Sunday.